for coming on Talking Success.
You're welcome.
And Facebook is powerful because that's how we met
Yes.
on Facebook. And I reached out to you because I saw some interest when I went to the page where you gave a description of your book, not so much on your fan page. And Veronica's name is going to come up when you go to Facebook looking for Veronica. All you have to do is just type in Veronica and her last name. Matter of fact, as soon as you type Veronica, it's a lot of Veronicas, and W-A-D, her name's going to pop up, and you just click on there and go to her Facebook page. She also has a fan page under the name of Nothing Broken, Nothing Missing. So we're going to put a reminder up. We're going to let you see this beautiful cover because you can't see it with me holding the book right here, but that's going to come up. So, Veronica, you born and raised in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay. On the south side?
South side of Chicago.
Where'd you go to high school?
Well, I went to Wendell Phillips for my first year, and then I went to a private school, all-girls school, Visitation High School.
Okay. So that's a religious type?
Well, it was a Catholic all-girl high school.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So you've noticed when I was reading your bio that you went to theology school. When you were 17, did you think about going to theology school?
No, actually, I wanted to be an attorney at 17 years old.
You wanted to be an attorney?
Yes.
So what was your inspiration for writing the book? Because before we started taping, I had asked you, did you start writing this before you went to theology school, or did it happen afterwards? Because a lot of your references in the book are spiritual in nature, and that's good. That's a good fit here at Talking Success. We got a lot of spiritual people as well as religious people that tune into the program, and we want to talk to you so that our viewers again can be inspired by what you've done.
Yes.
So how long did it take you to pick up that pen and paper and work through this?
Well, the book was actually written in 30 days.
Okay.
I did it in 30 days, but I did it with a pen and paper.
Okay.
And actually, half of the book was cut in half because it was too large. The publisher said, save some for another one.
Oh, yeah, because it is 240, 50 pages.
So I have about 139 pages still at home from that book.
Okay. And the title, Nothing Broken, Nothing Missing, is that because sometimes people think something is missing or something is broken when that's not really the reality? It has to do with how they're looking at the situation or the circumstances?
The way I look at that and the way it came to me was everything that I've been through life. I felt like while I was going through that I was losing something. But I realize now that in the end that all that I've went through, I'm still whole. And many of us will go through things in life and feel like I'm not what I should be. But we are all what we should be at that moment. And it just takes God to complete us. We can't do it.
So if you don't, I got a sense from the book that having some type of spiritual connection with something greater than yourself, call it God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, or whatever,
yes,
that's important because it kind of keeps you focused.
Yes, it does. It keeps you focused. I personally, for myself, I would say without God, I know many of the things that I went through, I wouldn't have made it. And if I had to do many of the things that I went through over again in that book, to go through it, to get where I am today, I would do it all over again.
So, but your faith grew as you grew.
Yes, it did.
So maybe share briefly an experience you might have had in your 20s where it's a little different in your 40s because the faith is much greater, or in your 30s. I don't know what your age is, but I'm just throwing those numbers out like that to give people some kind of idea of the importance.
Well, I think God used my daughter. My daughter became ill in 2002.
Now, which one is the one that you got? 124 and 26 now,
I have
right?
126 and 128.
Oh, 28. Okay.
And she became ill with systemic lupus, and the doctors told me, they said, you need to plan for her funeral. She would not make it because every organ in her body has shut down. And I didn't believe the doctors. I asked them, who told you that?
And how old was she when that happened?
She was 16 years old.
Okay.
They told me that even if she lived, that she would have brain damage. She would never learn. And I didn't believe it. I began to pray. I anointed her with oil, and I wouldn't receive the bad news. All I had in me was good news. Although I seen her drop from 150 pounds to 80 pounds, I didn't see it. And it's hard to explain. I seen the outcome. When I was looking at her like that, I would say, that's not her. I'm still looking at the outcome of what she's going to be like when this is over with.
And that was based on your belief and your faith.
Yes, it was.
So that dispels the old, often people say, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. You weren't on that page.
I wasn't on that page.
You were having faith and you believed it before you even saw the manifestation.
Yes.
Of the wholeness for your daughter.
Yes.
And her moving out of that sickness and that illness.
And that also helped me build my faith. My faith was being built even when she was sick. All through the whole, for maybe 2 years, we went through. But even being homeless with a sick child, with nowhere to go, my faith was still being built. I believed that I was going to have shelter over my head one day.
And that happened.
And it happened. And it was just like God was sending people in my path. I didn't have to look for them.
Now, I noticed in here you have quite a few chapters that refer to where you claimed, I guess, is this a similar experience when you say my Joseph experience or
Yes.
my Abraham experience
Yes.
or my Jonah experience? Share just a little bit about your Jonah experience.
Well, my Jonah experience, I relate that to leaving Chicago, moving to Tennessee, because that's when my daughter became ill. I didn't want to stay here anymore because my husband and I had separated. I was hurting. I just wanted to get away from the city. But when I looked for treatment for my daughter, for her lupus, the only place that had the treatment for her was Northwestern Hospital. I had to come right back where I started from. I turned around from Tennessee and had to come back in order for her to get that treatment.
Well, that was good news.
Yeah, it was good news, but I guess it was good because I knew people here and I was familiar with the city.
Right.
But I cried because I didn't want to leave Tennessee. Because I asked God when I left here, I said, give me peace. But I didn't ask for how. I never put a length or what time or how much peace I wanted.
So you did achieve some peace
I achieved 1 year peace.
Okay.
Then I had to start dealing with her illness and had to come right back here.
Now, when you made the decision to leave the city based on the circumstances with the separation and everything, did you have a clear vision of where you want to go, or did you pray on where you wanted to go? Or did you just say, I need to leave the city, and just left by faith, not by sight?
Well, that's where my Abraham experience came.
Okay.
When God told Abraham, just go, he never asked what, where, how. God told me, just go.
Okay.
And I jumped up and I packed both of my daughters up and all my furniture, and I just went. And doors began to open up for me when I got there. Doors were just opening. So I knew it was God, because I tell you, one of the things that I found out was I walked right into Section 8. And I said, wow, Section 8. In my city, you would be on a waiting list forever.
Okay.
But when I moved to Tennessee, I found out from some of my friends that they had been on the list 10 years. And I walked right in the door and had Section 8 in 2 weeks.
Oh, my God.
So I know it wasn't me. It was an assignment.
And that would have never happened in Chicago.
Never.
Because you followed the directions.
I followed the direction.
Without question.
I didn't question.
Right.
I just went.
You know, it's amazing just talking to you how you're confirming a lot of things that I've heard and experienced, as well as my viewers, to reinforce that. Because sometimes when things get things get rough, sometimes I don't believe that, just me personally, I don't believe my faith is being tested, because that's I don't think God is just throwing a test at me to see where I'm at with my faith,
Yeah.
I think it's more for me to see where I'm at
Yes.
in terms of I'm truly believing, and if I really have faith. That's why sometimes circumstances come up, you can't understand the why, but with hindsight, you can see it later.
Yeah.
Now, when you were much younger in high school, going to the Catholic high school, and you graduated. When you were much younger, have you often reflected on some of the experience you had younger, and you know how we always say, oh, I wished I had the faith back then that I have now, and how those situations come about?
Yes, but you know, even as a young child, I was what they called a different person. I was
really?
kind of strange. And they would tell you, I never thought like anyone else. All the kids, I never thought like them. I mean, at 8, 9 years old, I was taking the kids to Funtown.
Okay.
I was taking them to the show, and they was looking at me like, aren't we the same age? How does she know her way around these places?
Okay.
So I was kind of different, and I was the child that stayed in trouble because people could never tell me anything unless they told me why.
That's a good one.
I needed to know why.
Beg for the question.
And many times, you know, even adults, you don't ask why, but I want to know why.
Right.
So I would get a good whipping.
It's not so much being disobedient as it is that level of curiosity, and that spirit in a lot of young people, it gets killed at a very early age, because believe it or not, and we've talked about this on Talking Success, that we are hardwired to ask questions.
Yes.
We're programmed. God made us to ask questions because all the people, even these lights in the studio and the cameras and all that, came from unanswered questions.
Yes.
And if those questions weren't asked and someone took their creative faculties to come up with an answer, a lot of the things that we have around us.
Yes.
You know, that word why is a powerful word.
Well, you know, adults don't like, many of them I would say, don't like to hear children ask why.
Right.
You know, we were taught, when I say do it, you just do it.
Right.
But I always wanted to know why.
And I think that's true. I know in terms for children to learn to become obedient, one of the things that a child must learn early on is to follow directions without necessarily asking why, because you know, you always heard them say, Mama never tell you nothing wrong.
Right.
And that's the truth.
Yes.
But then when it gets to a certain, I think around 9, 10, 11, 12, they're not questioning your intelligence or questioning you whether to see if you playing tricks to see if you know what you say is true or not. It's just that they trying to use that creativity.
It's a learning. They're learning.
And that's how you learn.
If you tell me why, then I know why. That's how I learn. This
is amazing when you said 30 days. So, but I guess it's a lot easier. And like you in school now, right?
Well, I'm finished with school. I'm
finished?
planning. I'm going for my doctorate next year.
But you know, like writing a dissertation or a paper or a thesis, or for some of you guys, a term paper, whatever. That's a little different. But this is your experience.
And
it makes it a little easier. It's just a matter of how long it'll take to get it down.
Well, you know, I say it was easy for the thoughts, but to write it on paper, I went on a roller coaster ride, because it was if I was reliving everything over again. I cried when I wrote this book. I laughed, and sometimes I had to push it away and take a break because I couldn't deal with what I was writing about. So it was easy for the thoughts, but I cried a many a nights writing the book.
And you know, we had people on that have just started doing journals.
Yes.
And my coach, Dr. Didra Burrell, her first book came as a result of her journals.
Wow.
You know, and she said a similar thing that you said, that for many of us, we may have resentments and certain amount of fears, and sometimes when you pick up the pencil and paper and start writing about these things therapeutically,
yes,
it's good for you. You say, well, I thought I had let that go. You might have been writing and thought you had let something go.
Yes.
And you hadn't, because you got emotional about it.
And that book was therapy for me. It was therapy. It helped me. And it helped me deal with what I thought I had gotten rid of. It was still there.
Oh.
And I say, wow, I have to deal with this. Because that was something I had hid. You know, sometimes you have things happen in your life, you don't want to even see them anymore. Right. But when I put it on paper, it was like watching a movie all over again. And And I say, wow, I didn't want to see this anymore.
And
but
it's
I
a little
had to.
different than replaying it in your head than when you put it on paper.
Yes, because you reliving every detail of it when you put it on that paper. Even stuff is coming out that you forgot about.
Right. One thing will lead to something
Yeah, it
else.
leads to something else.
So what do you hope that people get as a result of reading the book? I know you want to be inspired, but can you think of some other things that you're hopeful that people get? I mean, normally projects like this don't start because, oh, I'm going to make some extra money, so let me write a book. That's not the foundation for what really.
Well, I'm hoping that in that book, each experience is someone, is going to be someone in that book. Even when, up to today, I've had people to read the book, and each person that have read that book, they would tell me, I found myself in there.
Right.
And then, see, the book has a revelation at the end of each chapter.
Oh,
and
okay.
this revelation tells you why I went through, what brought me into that situation, and how I got out. So I want people to just know also that I came up in the projects.
Okay.
And many of us come up in the projects, they feel that we just there, we are nothing.
Right.
I want to know that everything that they have been through, it's not over. You can persevere through these things, you can make it. I went from the projects to 2 masters, and even to writing a book. You can be whatever you want to be. And even your hurt and your pain that you have went through, that right there made you what you are today. And
It sounds like you had a good family because now your middle name Oby, you had a grandmother Oby. Is that on your mother's side?
That's my father's side.
Father's side.
Yes.
So you picked that up.
Yes.
So that middle name is actually your maiden name?
No. Actually, I put my father's name because my mother and father were never married.
Okay.
So her maiden name was Wadell.
Okay.
But I didn't want to leave my father out. So
Okay.
I put his last name as my middle name.
Okay.
And if you can look at it, you'll see it spells V-O-W, which means vow.
Oh, okay.
And I made a vow to God that if he healed my daughter, that I would always serve him, never turn away.
So your grandmother, it seems like, unlike, she's a very wise woman.
Yes.
Share a couple of things that your grandma shared with you to help build your character, to help you.
Well, actually, I had 2 grandmothers, one that raised me when we were in the projects, my mother's mother, but I was always at my father's mother's on the weekend. Both of those women were very strong women. My father's mother would tell me, don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't be what you want to be. She used to tell me, if you can dream it, you can be it. She said, don't let people take your vision away. And my mother's mother would always tell me things like, if you put God first and follow him, you would never be off path. Say, man is trying to get into the same heaven you are. So always follow God.
So you had an excellent, you're talking about the projects and how some people had this misconception that everybody is going to be a product of that environment.
Yes.
With the drugs and alcohol, the domestic violence, the list just goes on. Now, was that, which particular complex?
I was the Harold L. Ickes at 23rd and State.
Okay.
That's
Go down there now.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And actually, I did have a problem with the drugs in the book.
Okay.
God took me through that. I mean, I don't tell people how to get rid of the drug. I can't tell anyone because their journey is their journey.
Right.
But one of the things that I did, as I said to myself, I'm through. July 5th, 1996, no more drugs. I had set a date, and I just put them down and walked away. Never went to a rehab.
Okay.
Just walked away. My motto was, I tore myself up, and I'm going to build myself back
Right.
up. So I just walked away from the
Surrender
drugs.
to God's will,
Yeah.
and then it keeps it
And
real simple.
yeah. Yeah, it was real simple then.
Yeah, real simple. But when you're in the midst of it, you get really distracted and get sidetracked and stay off the right path.
Right.
The right path.
And then many times people don't understand that whatever they're using, the drugs, the alcohol, is only filling a void. So if we can go back and find out what we were missing, we can remove what we have filled it with.
Right.
So my void was, I was looking for love.
Okay.
And I filled it up with drugs. Once I removed the drugs, I found out the love was already there. I just didn't recognize it.
Okay.
So I had to learn to love me before I can even find love anywhere else.
Well, I think the way you laid it out, especially for people that are somewhat of a student of the Bible, they can really, I guess when they get into, the Abraham experience, the Joseph experience, Jonah experience, then they can look at those experiences, which aren't too much different from
That's right.
either their personal experience or when they're reading about your particular Abraham experience. They say, yeah, I done had Abraham experience too, more than once, which is a great thing. And this thing, sometimes the battle with the lower power and the higher power.
Yes.
A lot of people get challenged with that. The temptation.
Yes.
In pursuit of trying to feel good. You're talking about filling voids.
Yes.
We only got a few minutes left. Time goes pretty fast down here. So no matter what a person's situation may be based on the way they see it,
yes,
it's definitely something better than what they can see in front of them now. Is that not true?
That's true. And also we have to understand, even in our worst situation, there's a learning experience in that. We look for good things to learn from. But many of us overlook the bad things that happen to us in our life. But in there's a learning experience also in that.
What about letting go? How easy is sometimes letting go? I know you shared with us about some things you thought you had let go of that was still there, just covered up by other information, other experiences. But letting go is for the benefit, and I may have to bring you back later, maybe to help us go through this thing on forgiveness, because we could spend a whole half an hour talking about that. But the benefit of forgiveness, who do you see the benefit of the forgiveness for?
When you forgive others, you are actually helping yourself. Because when you don't forgive other people, you have put yourself in a cell. You have put yourself in a box when you can't forgive.
Some adults I'll take it to the grave. And working with children, we found that children, when you teach them about the benefits of forgiveness,
yes,
they start seeing it. And sometimes starting with the small stuff first helps build a habit of seeing the benefit of the forgiveness. But for some adults, they don't understand. You mad at Aunt Joe on the other side of town having fun. You sitting up mad at him.
Well, it was a time years ago that I had a hard time forgiving. And I went to this picnic. I was angry with this woman. I've been angry with her for 10 years. I went to the picnic. This woman was having the time of her life. And I'm sitting in the corner angry. Mm-hmm. I say, why should I let her have the fun? And I'm sitting here angry. Right. She's not thinking about what I'm angry about. So it's a waste of time to be angry with people, to not forgive them. You're hurting no one but yourself.
Right. Because whatever you're thinking about them, they don't feel it. You feel the anger and the pain and knots in your stomach. It's
you know what?
Else.
They done went and hurt 30 more people while you're angry.
Right.
So you
and
may
they got to reap what they sow anyway.
It's their problem.
That's their problem, as you said.
Not yours. Let it go.
So it looked like you got we might have to have you back another 6 months or a year from now for part 2, since you got some more information you weren't able to get into this particular book. And as you can see on the screen right now, you can go to Facebook and just go to the search box and type in Veronica and her last name, Wadell, and she'll pop up, and just click on that and send a friend request or go to the Facebook fan page, Nothing Broken, Nothing Missing, and type that in, it'll pop up also, and get more. This is a good book for people that want to heal themselves and get some assistance with healing. You can't do it by yourself, and that's why I think one of the reasons why God inspired you to write it, so that not only did it help you, we know that,
Yes.
but you've also gotten feedback from people how it's helped them.
Yes.
So here again, this is another good example. It's a good treatment here, and I think everybody can relate to it. And you also have a CD out with some of your poetry.
Yeah, I did a CD in 2005, but I never did anything with it.
Okay.
But I would pass out copies, and people, they say that was therapeutic to them also.
Man, that's
They
a
would
blessing.
listen
You
to
just passed them out,
them. Yes.
and
Pass
somebody
out
got
to people.
helped
Yes, they did.
from that. You know, cheerful giver, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Right, right. I know sometimes we get distracted about the money piece, but here at Talking Success, we say, do what you love, the money will follow.
That's right.
You know, find out what you can give, and then you don't have to worry about receiving. The universe, God will take care of you and bless you.
Yes.
It's been a blessing having you here with us tonight to share this. And remember, either go to Veronica's Facebook page and say, Veronica, I saw you on Talking Success. I love the information. I picked up the book because that'll help encourage other people to get some help. And let us know what you thought about this great book, Nothing Broken, Nothing Missing. Veronica, I want to thank you for coming on Talking Success.
Thank you.
May God continue to bless you. And we always say here, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best, and God will do the rest.
Thank you.
Until next time, we welcome you to come back in a few months and share your new experiences.
Yes.